Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to Arnie's Fantasy World of Sports on a Monday morning. And we're going to have a good conversation this morning about week 9 in the NFL. That's right. Week 9, Sunday night, concluded last night. We may talk about that one first. There is a report out this morning that the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Tom Brady and Rob Gronkowski retired at the start of the game last night, and two imposters filled in for them during the game. The player wearing number 12 for the Bucs. Oh, by the way, New Orleans wins 38-3. It was over before it started. It was 28-0 after dinner. I'm just telling you, this was like the worst game I have ever watched in my life for two teams who were supposedly fairly even. The Saints totally controlled the game. You had to see it to believe it. It was, in my opinion, the worst game Brady has ever played as a professional. He was off. He threw interceptions. Gronkowski only caught one ball for 2 yards. Look, they set a record last night. If you don't count the kneel down with just seconds left in the game to end the pain of the game, let me tell you how it ended. So the Saints have the ball with 2 minutes left. Everybody has timeouts, but instead of running plays, the Saints, it was already 38-3. They just go into victory formation and take knees. Okay, so on fourth down, they do the same thing. And so the Bucs get the ball back with about 30 seconds left in the game, put in their second-string quarterback, Goddard. He takes a knee in victory formation, although it wasn't victory formation at all. And that was the fifth official running play of the night. They only ran the ball 4 times for 9 yards all night long. That is an NFL record, ladies and gentlemen. That's right. So if you're into records, there was one. And if you ever hear what's the fewest times a team has run the ball in an NFL game, you can say Tampa Bay, November 8th, 2025, really 4, not counting the kneel down, against the Saints. For New Orleans, Mike Thomas was back. He was involved. Drew Brees looked sharp. Fournette looked good. I tell you what's really impressive to me about New Orleans, and for all the talk about how Tampa may be the Super Bowl representative from the NFC, what impresses me about New Orleans, at least two things that aren't talked about a lot. We talk about Drew Brees and we talk about the passing and the running and those things, okay? But that offensive line for New Orleans is impressive. I'm going to tell you something. Tampa put no pressure on Brees. It was like he had all day to throw the ball. When they put in another quarterback, it was the same thing. I mean, it was domination up front on the O-line by the Saints. That's the first thing that I think rings true. Second of all, the Saint defense is really good. It's probably the most underrated defenses in the NFL. For New Orleans to be able to go in last night to Tampa in some rainy conditions, it's Antonio Brown's first game. I mean, it's hoopla. It's everybody's talking about, well, not everybody, but a lot of people are talking about Tampa Bay being the Super Bowl rep from the NFC. New Orleans goes in. They beat them earlier in the year, game 1, in fact, week 1. But this was not even a contest. And so another little thing last night is the first time Tom Brady's been swept in a season series. New Orleans is good. They looked really good yesterday. Exciting, no. Dominating, yes. So let's talk about another game. I got to talk about my Raiders for just a moment. Yeah, I do. I mean, the 5-3 Las Vegas Raiders, they're going to Los Angeles. I didn't say San Diego. They're going to Los Angeles yesterday to take on the Chargers. Herbert, an incredible talent at quarterback. The Raiders are leading 31-26. The Chargers have the ball. They're going down the field. It looks like another either late second loss or a late second win. Remember last week against Denver, the Chargers lost on the last play of the game. Well, this week they lose on the last play of the game, just a different last play, a different way to do it. How about finding ways to lose games? The Chargers have now only won 2 games this year, 2-6. And they had the ball around the 10-yard line of the Raiders, passed on into the corner. It looked like a catch. The initial call was a touchdown, and that would have given the Chargers, as the clock expired, a 32-31 win. But as all scoring plays are late in the game, it was reviewed, and it showed clearly the ball was out as the player hit the ground. Touchdown is waved off, and the Raiders move to 5-3. Chargers fall to 2-6. The Raiders win 31-26. And what do we draw from this game? Well, if you're a fantasy player and you have Derek Carr on your team, know this: the Raiders have become a run-first team. Yesterday, Jacobs ran the ball really well. The backups ran the ball really well as also. So when the Raiders are getting a lead, they are relying on the run and less on the pass. Look at the Raiders' schedule coming up. It is a very, not easy, but it's much better the second half of the season for the Raiders than it was the first half of the season. Kurt Hinton chiming in this morning. Moved into second place in his league, facing number 1 this week. Let's talk about it, Kurt. We'll talk about it this morning if you want. Shoot me some players. We'll have something different to talk about other than just the games yesterday. Give me one at a time. I know you got the quarterback. Look, Kurt Hinton's got Kyler Murray as his quarterback. Kyler Murray, the number 1 scoring player in fantasy. Rushed for almost 100 yards yesterday. Let's jump into that Miami game. Miami wins 34-31 over the Cardinals. What a game. Tua starting for Miami. Murray with the great stats. It was a classic game. And I think when you look at how the Dolphins and comparing them to the Cardinals, both teams are now 5-3. Both teams have young quarterbacks, that's for sure. Okay. And Tua being his first start yesterday, look, stats not blow you away. He was 20 of 28 for 248 yards, 2 touchdowns, no interceptions. But he spread the ball around. Devontae Parker caught 6. Preston Williams caught 4. Williams had a touchdown. Running the ball, Tua rushed 7 times for 35 yards. Cardinals, though, comparatively speaking, look at Murray. 21 of 26, 283 through the air, 3 touchdown passes, and I said 90, it was 106. 11 rushes, 106 yards on the ground. That's a 9.6 yard per carry average, and he also got a rushing touchdown. Kyler Murray is your number 1. I never thought I'd say this, but this is the truth. This year, your top 2 quarterbacks are in the same division. And I know there's a really good quarterback out in Kansas City. I got it. And Kansas City seems to be going more to the air and less to the ground. And so these top 3 can be interchangeable. But I got Mahomes at 3, I got Russell Wilson at 2, and I got Kyler Murray at 1. And you talk about, I've read people talking about Russell Wilson being the MVP for the NFL this year. What about Kyler Murray? I mean, the Cardinals are 5-3. That's not chopped liver. That's a good record. The Dolphins are now 5-3. after that big win yesterday. These are quarterbacks who going forward are going to be productive. They're young. We'll keep our eye on both of them. All right. Let's take a look at that Steeler-Cowboy game. Going into that game yesterday, Dallas and Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh's undefeated. They were 7-0. The Cowboys were 2-6. The Steelers were a 2-touchdown favorite. Listening all week to fantasy radio, reading online, reading in Twitter. Oh, James Conner, he's the football guru running back of the week. Conner, I thought for a while maybe he had some medical issue yesterday. I didn't see him in the game. He only put up in my league 3 fantasy points. I guess the game script was what it was. Look, the Cowboys, I know they didn't win, but I think it was the best they have played this year. Their defense they were into it. The offense was moving. Now, they settled for 4 field goals instead of a touchdown. If they could have converted some there into touchdowns, but Dallas led at halftime. Dallas led after 3 quarters. Pittsburgh scores 15 unanswered points in the 4th quarter. They were down 19-9 entering the 4th quarter. They score 15 points in the 4th quarter, and they win 24-19. Pittsburgh improves to 8-0, the first time in the history of the Steelers that they have started the year 8-0. The Cowboys fall to 2-7. Roethlisberger goes 29 for 42, 306, and 3 touchdowns. James Conner, like I said, he rushed 9 times for 22 yards. Steelers as a team rushed 18 times for 46 yards. That's not what I call Steeler football. But receiving, Juju caught 6 for 93. Deontay Johnson, 6 for 77. Chase Claypool, 8 for 69. They were throwing the ball, line up in 5 wide receiver sets, and the Steelers continue to win yesterday over the Cowboys, 24-19. How about the Falcons? Somebody wake up the Falcons. They beat Denver yesterday, 34-27. The Falcons improved to 3-6, and I just got to think about what if? What if the onside kick for Dallas doesn't work? Okay, now they're 4-5. There were 2 or 3 other games the Falcons could have easily won. They could have a winning record. They don't. But they're a better team than their record indicates. Yesterday, they led going into the 4th quarter over Denver, 27-6. It looked like Denver might mount this great comeback. They scored 21 in the 4th quarter, but the Falcons do win 34-27. From a fantasy viewpoint, Drew Lock went 25 for 48, 313 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Not much in the running department for Denver yesterday. They only rushed, Drew Lock had 47 rushing yards. He was the leading rusher. He had more yards combined than Lindsey and Gordon. But receiving the ball, look, Jerry Jeudy, 7 for 125. KJ Hamler, 6 for 75. And Noah Fant, 3 for 45. 3 receivers who combined caught 245 yards in the air for Denver. And then we look at the Falcons. Matt Ryan, just as Matt Ryan, 25 of 35, 284 yards, 3 touchdowns. Gurley rushed 19 times for 53 yards. Gurley is not productive yards per carry, only 2.8 yards per carry. But what Gurley does from a running back position is he scores touchdowns. If you could ever get Todd Gurley where he wasn't scoring touchdowns, he loses productivity, but he doesn't stop scoring touchdowns. He's still doing it and receiving. It was Alamade Zacchaeus, come down. 4 catches, 103 yards. Hayden Hurst waking up, 7 catches, 62 yards. And Julio, don't forget Julio, 5 54-54. The Seahawks. Did you watch the Seahawks Bills game? Was really interesting yesterday to me. Josh Allen looks like he's turned it back around. The Bills jump out to this big lead, and they win 44-34. Allen throws for 415 yards. And here's the concern with the 6-2 Seahawks. They can score on anybody, but anybody can also score on them in massive amounts. Josh Allen, 31 for 38, 415 yards and 3 touchdowns through the air. The Bills' rushing game, non-existent, didn't have to be. When you throw for over 400 yards, you don't have to run the ball much, do you? 19 rushes for 34 yards yesterday, but 2 rushing touchdowns. Zach Moss, 9 for 18 with a touch. Josh Allen, 7 for 14 with a touch. And then receiving, Stephon Diggs caught 9 balls for 118 yards. John Brown caught 8 for 99. Gabriel Davis caught 4 for 70. What an afternoon for the Bills and their passing attack. Josh Allen had not been performing up to this level. Yesterday was a huge game. And look, if you're a Bills fan, you know who's on the calendar next week. It's Dolphin time. What a big game that is. The Bills at 7-2, 2 losses, and the Dolphins with 3 losses. That ought to be a primetime game next week. Can't wait to lay my eyes on that one. For Seattle, Russell Wilson was Russell Wilson. But then again, he wasn't. He had 2 interceptions yesterday. He had 2 fumbles lost. Certainly in fantasy, that takes away points. He did throw 28 for 41 for 390 yards and 2 touchdowns. DK Metcalf, 7 catches for 108. David Moore, 4 catches for 71. Tyler Lockett, asleep at the switch. Only 4 catches, only 40 yards. Tyler Lockett 2 weeks ago had this incredible all-time game where he scored like 50 fantasy points. And the past 2 weeks, he has been more than just human. He didn't perform at all up to those levels. Good morning, Amy. How are you? It's good to see you with us this morning. And if you have any questions, comments, put them down. I'll try to address them. We can talk fantasy teams. We'll do that tomorrow as well. I'll be back on tomorrow around 10 o'clock, guys, just so you know. We can talk fantasy. We can answer questions. Wait a minute. I am not on tomorrow at 10 o'clock. I will have to make a change. I have business to do. I have a closing tomorrow at 10 o'clock. So I'll be back with you on Thursday. I'm sorry to say I'd be here and that I can't be. I'm just looking at my schedule. I have a closing at 10 tomorrow morning. So I will not be here tomorrow. I will be back on Thursday. We'll talk then more about your fantasy lineups for week 10. And I'll answer any and all questions that you have. All right, let's talk about some more games from yesterday. The Lions and the Vikings, both teams are now 3-5. But the deal with that game yesterday, let's start and let's end with Dalvin Cook. 22 rushes, 206 yards on the ground, 9.4 yards per carry, 2 touchdowns. Look, Alexander Madison, his backup, comes in, rushes 12 times for 69 yards himself. He averaged 5.8. And you could get 6.9 points, fantasy points, out of his backup yesterday. And Kirk Cousins, former Redskin great, 13 for 20, 65%, 220 yards, and 3 touchdown passes. That's right. 3 touchdown passes, 2 to Irv Smith. Irv Smith, the tight end, caught 2 balls yesterday for 10 yards, but both were touchdown catches. Talking about getting the maximum for the minimum. That's what you would have gotten had you had Irv Smith in your fantasy lineup this week. And then Amir Abdullah caught the other touchdown. He only had 1 catch, but it also was for a touchdown. What about the Lions? What are they doing with their fantasy players? You know, Detroit, Stafford went 23 for 32, 211, and 1 touchdown, 2 interceptions. He was replaced late by Chase Daniel. DeAndre Swift, nothing phenomenal there. 13 carries, only 64 yards. DeAndre Swift has got to get more touches than 13 touches a game. The average is 4.9 a game, but we're only touching the ball 13 times. You're not going to become the player in reality or in fantasy that you should be. Speaking of another running back who underperformed yesterday, did you watch the Bears and the Titans? In my fantasy league, I was really afraid. I had some duds this week. I listened to John Hanson. I don't mind saying who it was. Last Thursday morning, he was talking about the Thursday night special was JaMychal Hasty. Pick him up. I picked him up. He stunk. Okay? So no more listening to John Hanson about who to start. That did it for me. Okay? I don't need to be burned but once. So I started JaMychal Hasty. I got all of like 3 points from him. My opponent yesterday has the stud running back for the Tennessee Titans, Derrick Henry. I know I'm going to get slaughtered, but Henry has an off day. 21 carries and only 68 yards, no touchdowns. So the JaMychal Hasty start did not hurt me as bad when I compare him to what my competitor had yesterday. Not a good day for Derrick Henry. Not a good day, really, for anyone in fantasy. Ryan Tannehill only passed for 158 yards and 2 touchdowns. Nick Foles, you know, sometimes you can take a quarterback in a losing situation, and in a fantasy setup, he becomes gold. Look at Foles yesterday. 36 completions on 52 attempts, 335 yards, and 2 touchdowns with no interceptions. So if you had to pick a fantasy player of the day in that game, it has to be Nick Foles. Now, the Titans improved to 6-2. Their 24-17 win drops the Bears to 5-4. The Giants and the Washington football team, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this one, but the Giants, the only team Daniel Jones can beat is Washington. The Giants win. They go to 2-7. The Washington football team goes to 2-6. I love when I look at football team, but I'll tell you what's impressive here. Alex Smith, he did throw 3 interceptions, but he went 24 for 32 with 325 yards and a touchdown. He came in relief of Kyle Allen, who injured his ankle yesterday. Rushing the ball, not a good day for Antonio Gibson, only 6 carries for 20 yards. The 2 wide receivers for Washington both caught over 100 yards. Terry McLaurin, 7 for 115 and a touchdown. Cam Sims, 3 for 110 yesterday. For the Giants, it was, Daniel Jones, 23 of 34, 212 yards and a touchdown. Not anything really spectacular there. Wayne Gallman rushed 14 times for 68 yards and a touchdown. Alfred Morris, 9 for 67. Neither one's rocking it. And receiving-wise, Evan Ingram, 5 for 48 with a touchdown. Again, the Giants win over the Washington team 23-20. I don't know if you watched the Texans and the Jags yesterday. The highlight there would be Will Fuller and his 77-yard touchdown catch. The Titans beat the Jags 27-25. The Titans are 2-6. The Jags are 1-7. The Chiefs and Panthers had a humdinger yesterday in Kansas City. Look, they lost McCaffrey. The Panthers lost McCaffrey again. So if you're a McCaffrey owner, this may just be one of those lost seasons. If you're not in a dynasty league, you might even could trade it. He hurt his shoulder again yesterday. Now, before getting hurt, he had a good game. But he's hurt again. I don't know exactly how long he's going to be out. Teddy Bridgewater goes 36 for 49, 310 yards, and 2 touchdown passes. McCaffrey rushed 18 times for 69 yards and a touchdown. He caught 10 balls for 82 yards and a touchdown. He was very McCaffrey-like until he injured his shoulder. Curtis Samuel's second game in a row where he went off 9 for 105 and a touchdown. For the Chiefs, you start and you finish with their quarterback, Patrick Mahomes. I mean, that's just Mahomes throwing the ball like crazy. And as much as I'm going to compliment Mahomes, I'm going to tell you a concern I've got with their running game. Mahomes 30 for 45, 372 yards, and 4 touchdowns. No interceptions. But running the ball was not a good thing. If you're a Clyde Edwards-Helaire owner, you might want to look at trading him. He rushed 5 times for 14 yards, only a 2.8 per carry. The Chiefs as a team only ran the ball 12 times for 30 yards all day yesterday. But receiving's another story. Tyreek Hill and Travis Kelce are 2 fantasy studs. Kelce caught 10 balls for 159. Meanwhile, Tyreek Hill caught 9 for 113. They're your 2 receivers to go along with Mahomes. If you're a Hill owner who also had 2 touchdowns, or a Kelce owner, consider yourself very fortunate as we rock along. Thursday night, we already talked about. 49ers lost to the Packers. Look, Aaron Rodgers is a great play. And until the 49ers get some things straightened out, they fell to 4-5. I don't want any part of their backfield. It's a cluster of questions. Who's going to play? Who's going to perform? All week long, we heard about JaMychal Hasty, how he was going to be the bell cow running back. And look, he carried the ball 4 times for 3 yards. McKinnon came in, carried the ball 12 times for 52 yards. But I don't really trust McKinnon, but I do trust McKinnon more than I trust JaMychal Hasty. What they did Thursday night was throw the ball to Richie James. Who? Richie James. 9 catches, 184 yards. My receiver of the week, Richie James. He also caught a touchdown. Now, the 49ers are without a lot of their offensive firepower, but as long as Richie James is playing, I think Thursday night is an indication of what he can do if he's given the opportunity. The Packers, same old. Rodgers threw for 300 and 4 touchdowns. And Devontae Adams caught 10 balls for 173 yards, just slightly below his counterpart for a touchdown. They're expecting their second wide receiver back this week. We shall see. And we've got a Monday night game tonight. How many Jet fans do I have out there? Just curious. How many Jet fans? Tonight, the 2-5 Patriots, who have won 8 straight games against the Jets, go to the Meadowlands to take on the Jets, who are 0-8. And the spread there is like 10 points. Patriots 2-5, Jets 0-8. That's your Monday night special. Look, offenses. The Patriots have the 30th ranked offense in the NFL. So there are only 2 teams worse offensively, and one of them is the Jets. They're 32nd. And if you don't know, there are 32 teams. Defensively, the Patriots have the 4th best team, the Jets 22nd. Look, passing the ball. You got the worst 2 passing teams in the NFL. The Patriots are 31 and the Jets are 32. And rushing the ball, the Patriots are 6th and the Jets are 24. Now, saying all of that, I wouldn't be surprised if the Jets win tonight. I know they're bad, but the Patriots aren't that good. And you can't just go by a name and what they used to be. You know, if we did that, a lot of teams would be really good. What they used to be. The Patriots are not what they used to be. And if the Jets are going to win a game, tonight is an opportunity to do it. Crowder is back. Their tight end is back. I just think, I tell you what, I want to go on a limb and bet that the game tonight is more interesting than the Sunday night game of the week between the Buccaneers and the Saints. That was the worst game I've ever watched. I got to believe NBC was like, what have we done putting this crowd on TV? We should have had that Raider-Charger game on. Or we should have that Panther Chief game on. Those were two really exciting games yesterday. Or even the Dallas-Pittsburgh game. That game last night was horrible. Tonight's game between the Pats and the Jets will be a better game than what we saw on Sunday night. That's my prediction. We'll find out when we get together on Thursday. How about that? Guys, it's been great being with you this morning. Hope everybody has a great Monday, November 9. Do something kind for someone today. Enjoy the Jets Patriots tonight. And I'll be back with you on Thursday morning right here on Arnie's Fantasy World of